Are you ready to tap into your health and wellness in 2025? How many of y'all know that, you're going to have to make some changes in order to live your best life? Well, we have a doctor in the house, and I'm talking about a real MD, Dr. Angela Harden-Mack. Her mission is really to empower women, but to empower all of us to help us to understand how we can uh, release stress and live a more vibrant life. She has been featured as an obesity expert in print and broadcast media, and she's been an MD for more than 3 decades, y'all. Y'all figure it out.
Woo.
And she just has an unwavering commitment to really help people. What I love about her is how she is holistic. She understands spirituality, God, faith, the metaphysical, affirmations, and we're going to hear from the doctor today. So we're so glad to have her back. So Dr. Angela Harden-Mack, welcome back to the Law
Thank,
of Attraction Radio Network.
woo, thank you, Constance. I am super excited to be here. We are thriving in 2025 is the year we're going higher. So thank you for having me back. And I'm super excited to be here with your audience.
Well, so great because just to show you how God does stuff. So I have a client, I have so many Angelas who are my client. And so I have a Dr. Angela. And so I called her, she's my client, and she's probably going to see this. And you picked up, and I'm like, oh, Dr. Angela Harden-Mack. I didn't mean to call you, but then I'm like, well, I did.
Mhm.
And we knew that that was divine. So, how are you? You're in the Big D, Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, yes, I
What?
am fine. We are coming out of that cold freeze while everyone else was getting those couple of inches of snow. We were here like below 10, and then we got up to what, 1 degree. It was frigid, but yeah,
Yeah.
doing well.
So let's talk about health, such a big issue, health and well-being. I'm gonna let you just take the floor. And what do you feel like people need to know, understand, and look at the health in their own lives? As an
Yeah.
MD, what are you seeing?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. When we talk about health and wellness, that's my wheelhouse. I love talking about that because it is about empowering individuals to get healthier wherever you are, whatever your status is. There is another place, another level where you can be. And it's about personalizing your status. That's the one that's coming out. We're talking about that more in medicine, personalized medicine. We have the recommendations, but it's not one size fits all. So, what are your needs and what are your needs in this season? And then, how do you have a plan that's personalized for you that it will evolve with you? What we did when we were 20 or 30 is not always going to be the best fit when we are mature in age and we are seasoned.
Mhm.
So, making sure it's personalized, making sure it's flexible so that it will evolve with you.
I love that whole personalized concept because we're all different. God made us different,
Mhm,
individual. Some people
mhm.
like this, some people respond to certain foods and exercise differently. So let's talk about food and nutrition. Boy, that's a big one.
It is. And I love what I do as a medical doctor. And like you mentioned, it's been more than 3 decades. So go Wayne State. That's my
Hmm.
grad school and medical school. And I have the opportunity as a coach, as a wellness coach for women. I now have the opportunity to expand what I do. So that holistic think, whole person, your body, mind, and spirit. And so the food impacts our body and it also impacts our emotions. So, and like we talked last time, Constance, it's important for us add to before you take away.
I,
So
I,
many
I I
times.
use that quote. I stole that from you. I use
Hmm.
it all of the time. So expound
Yeah.
on that again. We're gonna what?
Yes. So add to before you take away. So if you're looking to make changes in what you're eating to eat in a healthier way, before going, oh, I gotta stop eating this or drinking this, and I need to stop eating the fried or whatever you're doing, add to. Are you getting enough servings of vegetables and fruits per day? So if you're not getting at least three, add to it. Bring it up to at least three, aim for 3 to 5. If you're not getting adequate protein per day, again, how many servings are you getting? Add protein to it. If you're not drinking enough water, if you say, no, I just kind of hitty pat around with 3 or 4 cups of water, aim to get to 5 to 6. So add so that you're getting to a different place, you're healthier before you look at taking away. And when you add to it, you're going to feel good, and you're going to get those small wins and you celebrate. And that motivates you to go to your next step. So add before you subtract.
Well, I know you're a doctor and you can't say, you can't just really verify this, but can most diseases be healed? You know what I mean? Like, or either what's the word? I'm like, I gotta watch my wording on this. Can reversed, like diabetes, high blood pressure, those major diseases, can those be healed or reversed or
Yeah.
lowered?
We are, yes, and we know that food plays a major part of it. There is a discipline in food coming up now called nutraceuticals. It's been around for a bit, but you are going to hear
Ah,
more about it. We really are understanding and recognizing the power of food. Not just food, but our bodies are unique. God created us. All of us are unique. Now, if you have an identical twin, that's a different story. But outside of
mm-hmm,
an identical twin, we are different. We are unique. And then the way the body interacts with the environment. So not only do we have our genetic makeup, but there's this thing called epigenetic where the environment and other things impact that. So we know that food plays a part. We can't always, and I like the way you gave us a few different scenarios, Constance,
mm-hmm,
because it's not, and this is important for everyone to know that we're sharing information for inspiration and motivation. I'm not diagnosing, I'm not treating.
mm-hmm.
You have to talk with your medical provider about what is specific for you. But we know that we can, through lifestyle, because we put in food under lifestyle, that eating in certain ways can be helpful for blood pressure, can be helpful for cholesterol and for blood sugar. And I mentioned that food sometimes can impact our mood. So if you have one of those I mentioned, plus other things, if you have arthritis or inflammatory conditions, connect with a dietitian because there are some properties in foods that can be helpful. If you have kidney illness, if you have heart illnesses, these are things that your doctors are probably saying, hey, you know what, I want you to see a dietitian. I want you to add this. So foods can help to improve. We use foods to treat. Foods may help to reverse. So there's a
No, I
really
love
nice
that.
margin.
I love that. So what about, so you talked about foods. I saw somewhere in my gym it says your abs begin in the kitchen. It was like, don't think you're gonna come up in here and been eating cake all week and really get your abs like you want them. So talk about movement. One of my clients told me, hey, one of my little Gen Z clients, they know everything. And she
Yeah.
said, Miss Constance, did you know that they're now saying that sitting is the same thing as what smoking used to be? I said, what do you mean by that? She said, when you just sit all the time and don't move, it can have the same impact as cigarettes back in the day. So talk
Mhm.
about moving, exercising. What does that look like? Muscle building, weight training, all of the above.
Yeah, so movement is so important. And many times we define physical activity. Physical activity is the overall umbrella. Then exercise is a specific type of physical activity. So we talk about sedentary behavior if you're seated all day. And a lot of jobs now we're on our tablets, we're on our devices, customer service. So we may not be up and walking around. And then you have physical activity. You're up, you're walking. Maybe you have a job where you walk, or maybe a physical job. And then you have exercise where you plan it and for the specific goals of health and fitness. So because our times now are we have convenience and we have opportunities to be seated more, we need to be focused and intentional about moving. Now, exercise, we all need to be physically active with exercise. And the recommendation is that if we're physically able to participate in at least 150 minutes per week of what's called moderate intensity exercise, where you have to put forth some effort. So you're able to keep a conversation and talk, but you have to breathe a little bit more. High intensity, think about jogging or thinking about cycling, where you have to use more effort and your heart rate will increase more. So 150 minutes per week we aim for, and you can break it up. It doesn't have to be all in one session. So we are very familiar with the recommendation 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week. And if that works with your schedule, great. But guess what? If you aim for 10-minute sessions at a time, that's when the studies demonstrate you get to see benefits. So you may not in the beginning have 30 minutes. You may not be physically able to do 30 minutes. Start with 5 minutes and work up to 10. And once you get to the point where you can do 10 minutes at a time for your exercise, and then you can add another 10, or you can add another 10, and it can build up. So that exercise movement important.
What do you do in the area of exercise?
I rotate. So right now I have a stepper, and I think I'm on like my fourth one. It's a mini stepper, and it has, I don't use my the ropes that you can put on so you can use your arms, but I literally take my stepper around. Like now it's in my upstairs room. So I'll get on that and I watch TV and I set my timer. I have an exercise bike in my basement, and I have a treadmill. So I rotate, and then in the summer, I do some walking.
Okay. What about weight training? Everybody's talking about muscle now and how important that is, and especially the older you get, the power of muscle. What's your intake on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Muscle is important. We need muscles. When we lift the arm, that's a muscle. When you are seated and stand up, those are those hip muscles. You need that. So there was this myth years ago. Remember, women shouldn't, build muscle or lift weights because they'll bulk up and they'll look like men. Not true. If you are wanting to compete and do that, that's another thing. But using weights and starting with a low amount of, typically we are talking like 1 or 2 pounds, important. So when we add muscle or build muscle, it helps us with our posture. It helps with our balance. Very important. Muscle burns more calories than fat. So when you're working on weight loss, we really are talking fat loss, and we're improving that ratio between muscle and fat. And when we talk about muscle, when you're losing weight or working on your physique, you can have a more fit physique with muscle, and your weight, the number on the scale may not change, but your clothing size can be different, and your overall fitness will be different. Your cardio endurance will be different. So especially ladies, do not shy away from lifting weights. You're not trying to compete. You're not going to bulk up, and you can do either free weights, you can do weight machines, or you can do body weight. So I have some routines that I do at home in terms of using your body, push-ups, sit-ups, dips, and things.
I love that. So we talked about exercise and food and nutrition, but what is well-being or wellness?
Yeah.
What does that mean, and how do people need to tap into wellness? Because I've had a very demanding week, and I just, I'm just like, I've always been stressed. I've allowed it to be stressful. So what is well-being and wellness?
Mm-hmm. They are pretty close, honestly. And
Okay.
I would say, I let people know, do not become overwhelmed. So in the beginning, if you think of wellness as the same thing as well-being, go for it. Again, this is not school. You're not going to be tested. Think of it as the concept of, number one, you're going to be proactive. You're going to plan some things. You're going to be intentional because you want to be healthy. And number two, is not just about your physical health. So some of the sources may say wellness or well-being may be physical and mental, and that's great because it's more than physical. When we talk about whole person, we commonly say physical, mental, and spiritual. Some people say soul, and then we expand. Like I go into 7 dimensions, and spirituality is one, and professional, and also social. So it's about whole person and well-being. Think healthy and happy. That's how I like to introduce it to people, not just going, I'm not sick. Oh, I don't have diabetes. Or I don't have arthritis. You may not have anything physically, but how are you? Are you joyful? Are you well adjusted? Do you wake up in the morning smiling? And do you wake up sending out goodwill? Because your joy, your happiness, your adjustment, relationships, those are just as important as your physical wellness. So being intentional, looking at whole person wellness, and health and happiness.
I want to stay here because I talked about Dr. Hawkins' map of consciousness, and he talked about living in the vibration of bliss, love, joy, happiness. So you just mentioned that, and I heard a recent study of how loneliness is now becoming an epidemic after 2020. So how can people really check in to see, well, am I happy? Am I joyful? And how important is that? The whole emotions and vibrations of those high feelings.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is so important. You know,
Mhm.
and we're on here talking about attraction. So, you know, we could be here for a minute. And so
Okay.
that vibration is important because when we are at the level and we're vibrating, vibration is movement. So each
Mm.
thing vibrates and moves at a certain level. So the happiness, the joy, those things are at higher, faster vibrations. And when you're sad, when you're blue, when you may be anxious, shame, regret, those are lower. And we attract when we are magnetic, right? When we are vibrating, we are magnetized and we are magnetic. So we are going to attract those things that we vibrate with. So one way to really think about it is what's happening in your environment. If you find that there's a lot of sadness or despair, if you wake up in the morning, you want to kick the tire, you can go, oh, my coffee machine is not working. You just
Mhm.
seem as if you're running into things that are not joyful, then that's a great way to pause and go, well, where am I? What am I thinking? What
Mm.
am I feeling? What am I saying? Words have power and create. We are creators. You are the creator of your world, and the inner world creates the outer world. So, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you saying? And when you evaluate those, if those are not lining up with love and joy and peace and optimism, then look at your thoughts, check your emotions, your feelings, and then your words, and you can begin to change each of those so that you're feeling differently. And it is reflection, self-reflection. Out, and when you're alone, you can be honest with you. Are you sad? Are you lonely?
Mhm.
Are you fearful about something? And do you want to change? So
I
we
heard I
Mhm.
heard you teaching the law of attraction there, Dr. Mack. That was powerful.
Yeah.
Just our thoughts create, and we know emotions are so powerful,
Mhm,
and the
mhm.
words that come out of our mouth are so powerful.
Yes,
So
yes.
we're body, soul, and spirit. So our physical man impacts our soulish man. So it's all one, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We have those dolls. I forget what they call, but the stackable dolls where you take one, you take the top off, then there's a smaller one. You take that off, and there's a smaller one. And you can do
Hmm.
that. And they're usually like 4 or 5 dolls stacked, just like our measuring cups. For those of you who cook or use measuring cups, you have like your fourth of a cup, then third, half, and then 1 cup, and they stack. Well, that's how we are. Our soul is within our spirit is in the soul. No, the soul is in the spirit, and the spirit is within our body. So the body is the physical part. That's how we interact with the world, our physical sensation. And so these 3 parts are connected and interconnected. What happens in one impacts the other. If you're anxious, eventually you're going to feel it in your body. Palms may be sweaty. You may sweat. You may feel your heart rate increase. You may feel that your stomach is upset. If you're stressed, you may be irritable. You may snap at people. If you're sad, you may just say, I'm not even getting up today. I'm not doing anything. Or if you are
Hmm.
spiritually, we don't many times talk about our spiritual part. Are you restless? Are you outside of the will or purpose for your life and know you should be here, but you're like, no, I'm going here. And there's some things that are experienced when we're not where we are to be, especially when we know it and we're like, I'm not doing that. Or we have unforgiveness. Woo, that's a topic I've taught on. And unforgiveness is major, but all three
Well,
are.
well, let's
Yeah.
talk about unforgiveness now, and then we'll move to spirituality. What
Okay.
does keeping and holding on to unforgiveness, how does that impact our lives?
Unforgiveness is 2 ways that you can look at it. Unforgiveness is a sore or that is in your body, in your spirit, and as long as it's there, it festers. So just like if you had
Mm.
a cut, if just like you had something and it kept oozing and didn't heal, that's what unforgiveness does to us. It oozes and festers, and then it develops a root of bitterness,
Mm.
and it comes out and over a period of time, and it's a baggage. That's the other thing. It literally, if you think about a backpack, so our injuries or insults, you have some that are small like a grain of sand, you have some that are a little
Hmm.
rock, a little bigger. Sometimes you may have one of this size, sometimes you may have a boulder. And as we are going through life, imagine that we have a backpack on or luggage, and if we always hold on to those things, then it gets heavier and heavier. Then we're way down and we're way down. And think if you couldn't move into something because you got this huge big thing on your back. So it's weighty, it's draining. You can't think of it. It impacts our posture. So can you breathe and inhale correctly? Can you recharge you to the optimal way if you're weighed down? So it impacts all of your life, and it impacts relationships and forgivenesses.
Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
found that some people, just over my 3 decades, I'm like you now, of coaching, that some folk want to hold on to it.
Yep.
Oh no, I can't let that go. So, that's just so big. So talk about spirituality, God. I just think God has just gotten a bad rap. We're not talking about church.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
talk about the impact of that so we could thrive more powerfully in 2025.
Yeah. So we all have questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And how do I explain the world, how we interact? And that's spirituality. Spirituality is being connected to the higher, knowing that there is something bigger, there's something, that has more wisdom than you. And it's connecting to that and answering those questions. And then how do you connect and have that relationship? Religion is the church part. Religion is how you do it, who you do it with, and where you do it. Do you go to church on Sunday? Do you go on Saturday? Do you pray one time a day? Do you pray 3 times a day? Do you use the beads? So spirituality is the relationship, and it's about your purpose and your creator and understanding, and the religion is how you do it. So spirituality is something that, and it's personal and it's beautiful and it's a part of who we are. We cannot have the fullest expression of life without being connected to that essence of who we are and to nurture that. We try to, or until we become familiar with it and we become awakened to it. I think we all are awakened to that. We can be happy, we can do some things, but
Mhm.
but when you are connected to your essence and your creator, and you are moving according to your purpose, that's joy. That's part of joy, and that's part of this unexplainable, sometimes the peace and the joy, and even your power and how you move in the world. So it's important for us to have that spiritual component in the practices,
Right.
spirituality.
Excuse me, everybody. Hold on for a second. Okay, so had to take a break there for a second, guys. And so you were just talking about spirituality and how individualized it is.
Yes. And we grow because when we are awakened to, or when we become aware of that, we all are in different places in life and what it means to us. When I was a child, my awakening was I knew there was heaven and I knew there was hell. That was basically what I knew. And I knew I didn't want to go to hell. So my prayer was, God, please don't let me die before I'm baptized, because I want to go to
Mhm.
heaven and not hell. And so my journey, it wasn't a straight shot. And for many of us, it's not. So I prayed that prayer, but it was like maybe 15 years later until I was at that place where I then made that confession and said, this is what I want. I want that relationship, and what we need and how we then are led and our path for that. And it's going to be different denominations, where people have that
Mhm.
awakening, that introduction, but it's important that we all connect in our way.
Yeah, and if you notice, all over the world, if a disaster happens, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God." Or if they get a surprise, if when they build houses for people and for families, Habitat for Humanity,
Mhm.
they walk in, "Oh my God." And so that is such a part of who we are. And,
Mhm.
going back to the law of attraction, we're always co-creating with that higher power, with that spirit. I was looking online yesterday, Dr. Matt, and it was this video on nature and birds. And it showed two birds that were
Mhm.
the colors. And it kept showing these very unique and exquisite birds. And I said to
Mhm.
myself, the same power that created that is in me. And I got
Yes.
happy looking at those birds.
Yes.
And I'm like, OMG, we are
Mhm.
so powerful.
Yeah.
And when you don't tap into that spirituality, it's so limiting.
Yeah. 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 And like you said, and when we're tapped into it, we have the ability to just gaze. I mean, awe becomes a main word because we can look at things and we can see the beauty of God, the power of God. Like you said, who is this being that created this, things that we don't even know about, how they come together, and you can just become awestruck. And then you move to that place, I believe, of, and I'm created. And you
Yeah.
think about all of your goodness and how you move and you go, oh my gosh, awe and wonder. Absolutely.
Somebody said, I'm created by God. I'm creative like God, and I am creating as God, as a God. And I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people like, oh, are you saying that we're God? Well, the Bible says that, we are gods. So if you
Mm-hmm.
create in the image and likeness of God, what does God do? He speaks.
Mm-hmm.
He brings about miracles. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
certain vibration when you know that you're connected, you're one with the most powerful force in the universe.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. Come on, Constance. Come on, bring it. Yes. Yes.
So you talked about the metaphysical too, and I know you big on affirmations and mindfulness. Talk about what role does that play? You mentioned speaking words in our thriving in 2025.
Yeah. Words have power. And like I love the way you said about, how we are creating with God's and words do. And if you don't believe it, be in the atmosphere with someone and say something kind and watch
Mm-hmm.
them, especially if something is difficult for them. You go to customer service and the person before you was very difficult. You walk up and say, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Are you the superstar who's going to help me today? I know you're the specialist. You're shifting that atmosphere. Now
Yeah,
that
that's
person feels
good.
appreciated. I do that all the time. I call, say, hello, are you the rock star who's going to help me today? I need help. Oh my goodness, thank you. So we are creating. And we can shift or create the atmosphere around us. And not only is it about who's in the atmosphere, but we're the first recipient of that. So our words, and we say affirmation, shun is the state of, right? T-I-O-N, to affirm. I'm stating, you're affirming, you're saying what is. So when you are affirming, when I am affirming, I am saying what is what is present. And when we talk about, for example, a faith confession, we're lining up and saying what God says, right? You're affirming. I'm saying, okay, if God says I'm wonderful, I said I'm wonderful. If God said I'm beautifully and wonderfully made, I'm affirming, saying, yes, I agree. And affirmations play a part in our development. They play a part in our motivation, what moves us to act. We talked about joy. We talked about emotions, and part of our growth and development. And so an affirmation is a very important part of our growth and development. And mindfulness is another one that's very important. In mindfulness, we can be mindful, called informal, where as we are doing this, I'm mindfully doing my dishes at home. I'm mindfully studying. I'm in the present. I'm not getting caught up in the past, going back. I'm not fretting about the future. So we're being mindful, paying attention. We can also have the formal mindfulness where I may pause and do a body scan, or I may pause and do loving kindness. And mindfulness is about we take a step back. We're not in the now where we are bombarded with the sensations and the emotions. We take a step back. We're present, but we are an observer watching things. So we're not critical and we're not judgmental. And mindfulness is, we talked earlier, one of those trends that's becoming very important. We're hearing a lot about mindfulness because it is so powerful, very easy to do, many benefits and much
I
power.
love that. So, the whole world is seemingly in an uproar in some form or fashion. I know politically a lot of things have shifted here in the US. I have listeners, who are independent, Republican, Democrat. But I tell people, the Bible says nothing outside of you shall defile you. So what can you say to people who are feeling stressful about their lives, about their jobs, stressful, can't sleep at night, and all of the above? What can we do to calm our little self down? Like my grandma used to say, girl, go over in that corner and calm yourself down.
Calm yourself down. I know the young kids, I learned this statement about 5 years ago, my daughter, when she was in school. The struggle is real. The struggle is real, and the stress out here is real. One that no, it sometimes you really just acknowledge, you're going, yeah, you know what? there's some things going on right now that we didn't want it. We didn't think that would happen, but don't put your head underneath the sand and go, okay, it's here. Number two, we can make a decision. We're in the world, but we're not of the world. So even when some things are happening in the world, we don't have to be always right there in the middle of it. So we can set your mind, whatever way that you can position yourself to be less impacted by stress. So I think of a shield, right? I think of a shield, whether you think shield that you pull up an armor, and there's one Bible verse that says, God is my shield and my exceeding great reward. So that's one of the things I say, God, you are my shield and my exceeding great reward. You can think of yourself as having a dome, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm covered. And as I'm walking around, I am going to be protected. You could think of yourself as having a hedge of protection. Think about 3 feet or 6 feet, whatever is working for you. Like, this is my boundary, and I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to create it. So some things are not even going to come my way. And when we set ourselves to be positive, not saying that we aren't seeing the negative, we are going to look for the good in things. Positivity can do a lot because it, actually optimism, it expects a favorable outcome. So
I love that.
It will expect. No, we talk about law of attraction. So if you're positive, some stuff is just going to ricochet, right? Because we repel, we're attracting what we're vibrating at. We are repelling what is not in alignment. So starting with those things, create your shield, your boundary. How are you going to protect yourself? And then that optimism, expecting good. And then, you have to look at some other things, and that's what some of the tools. Are you stressful on your job? Because if you have a boss that's really giving you the who did and what for, sometimes having that boundary, honestly, may not be the sole thing. Is this something you have to get HR involved? Do you need to do some things with your personal boundaries? Do you have financially? We know some things are going to happen if they haven't already financially. What are some things that you can do, some buffers?
So, I love that. Anything else you want to share with it? You're just full of wisdom about, and I love you said we're thriving in 2025. You covered so much, body, soul, and spirit. And I feel your passion. And guys, when I accidentally called her, she said, I'm ready. Just my friends laugh at me and said, now you can wake Constance up in the middle of the night and say, can you teach on? I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And that's how you work, because it's in you and it's who you are, to kind of really help to empower women and people globally, in this whole area of health, well-being. And, you're so accomplished, being an MD, that's amazing. Are you in awe of yourself when you think about it or look at it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I and I give honor to God often. I think I was a little girl. I was a little girl on food stamps. I was a little girl on free lunch programs. So we talk about some of these things that may be abolished. We had some financial reversals as a family, but glory be to God that He called me. This is my calling. He pulled me, He called me, He equipped me, anointed me for this, so that I can be a light in this world, so that I can assist individuals to this. So I serve at His pleasure. I serve according to His time, as long as He gives me this ability to serve. And I get to see people in their transformation. I get to, and I have for more than 3 decades, and I've seen some things, and I go, wow, God, you allowed me.
So when you go into the office, you probably motivated and excited, and your patients are glad to see you. I mean, I love it. That's when you know that's your calling and your purpose, all of the above. Wow. So it's my understanding, do you have ebooks, a free ebook that's available to people, and you are a wellness coach in addition to being an MD. So tell us about those services.
Yes. So like I said, I'm doctoring over here. That's totally separate for what I do as my business, because, and this is important, the things that I do in my coaching to professional women, I can't do, right? I can't, accomplish these things within the office. And God has not said, stop being a doctor.
Right.
As a wellness coach, holistic wellness coach, I work with women, and we talk about spirituality. We talk about profession. What's going on your job? How are you managing this? How do you bring your feminine energy into this to be authentic? How are you doing with relationship? When women are accomplished, sometimes dating, that can be something that's not as easy. The more accomplished you are, sometimes the more money, and that's a whole nother conversation. Real talk is that we keep it real. These are things. So when your money is somebody trying to mess with your money, it's like, wait, whoa, that can be a source of stress as well. So I get to embrace that and talk to my clients, my coaching clients about that. And mindfulness, as we mentioned before, is one of the foundation pieces of my coaching. And I have a book, an ebook, and it's called From Hustle to Harmony, a 14-day From
Oh,
Hustle to Harmony. Because
I love
guess what?
that.
This culture that we live in is a hustle culture. Overwork, do this, not take care of yourself. And as I've been sharing recently too, work-life balance. Well, first of all, holistic wellness that unlocks work-life balance transforms hustle to harmony. So mindfulness is an ebook, and it's available at Hustle to Harmony, Hustle the number 2 Harmony ebook. And it's an introduction to mindfulness, and it talks about how you can use mindfulness to help reclaim time and to help minimize stress. We are different. And again, this is an introduction. Everything in there is not the end all to be all. And what may be the most stressful for you now, or just tension, may not be what will be your major tension, let's say next year or 6 months from now. I mentioned being flexible before. And with anything, what's working for you now? So as you go through that, you can say, oh, I like this exercise. I like this exercise. This works for me right now. 6 months from now, you may say, well, I'm good with that, but I don't need that right now. I need more of this right here. And as you grow, you may say 6 months from now, oh, meditation. Dr. Angela talked about meditation. Well, I need to do more with that. So that's an ebook. It's available. Again, dive into it. I practice mindfulness. It works.
It
It
does.
works. Yeah.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Any last words for us? You're so powerful. You're so full of wisdom. I feel your vibration of joy, bliss,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude all the way down here in the ATL. So, what would you like to say
Amen.
to listeners?
I would say that you can thrive, that despite anything that's happening right now, next month, 6 months from now, you can thrive. So set your intention, set your desire that you want to thrive, and then think on that, and
Mm,
empower yourself. So, stay connected with Constance, stay connected with resources that talk about spirituality, that talk about wellness, that talk about attraction and the law of attraction. When you empower yourself, that you will be able to weather whatever's going on. The ship may be rocking, the storms may be blowing, but you will be firm and steadfast, and you will be planted, and you can make it. You can rebound, and you can thrive. So set your intention to thrive.
Dr. Angela, you are a blessing to the world. Thank you so much.
Man,
So
thank
so
you.
glad that I called you on purpose. I hit that second, Dr. Angela, and it
Mm-hmm.
was you, and you're ready. I love your spirit. I love your wisdom. I love your passion, your exuberance. And I just declare and decree for you that you're going to be thriving. You're beyond your wildest dreams in all areas of your life in
Amen.
2025.
I received that. Thank you. Amen.
Okay. So everybody, this is so powerful. Share this on your timeline, on your social media. People need to hear this. They need to see this. They need to feel that this is really a word from God, a word from Spirit for you. And as I say every week, you are the creator, editor, script writer, producer of your own day, your own life, and your own week. You choose. Create a powerful week.